If tomorrow starts without me, there's something you should know. While I hold you close, never let you go.
Hello and welcome to The Broken Pack, a podcast focused on giving adult survivors of sibling loss a platform to share their stories and to be heard, something that many sibling loss survivors state that they never have had. Sibling loss is misunderstood. The Broken Pack exists to change that and to support survivors. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Dean. Stefanie Joseph joined me for today's episode about losing her sister, Jen, during the pandemic from meningitis. She shares how difficult losing her sister was and how her grief has influenced her work as a business coach and grief support specialist. We also discuss changes in family dynamics, her somatic work, and her Moving Grief podcast. Take a listen.
Guessing, 'cause you never know, you just never know.
Welcome to the show. I was wondering if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Yes, I would love to. Hi, everybody. I'm Stefanie Joseph. Angela and I are meeting for the first time in the recording. We've been following both of each other on Instagram. And so thank you, first of all, for having me on here. I, first and foremost, am a mom, and that definitely is the highlight of my world. But in that, I'm also a multifaceted entrepreneur. We'll get more into that as the recording goes on. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I love the summer, so I'm enjoying this summer month, and this last summer was very different. And so we're enjoying just the slow, just normalcy of it. So I guess that's what I'm feeling called to introduce, because I know we'll get into the meat of it as we get going.
Thank you for that introduction. Did you want to say a little bit more about what you do with grief work?
Yeah, I do support people in grief. It was a really interesting unfolding of how it comes about. I've always been a pretty open book when it comes to my socials and sharing my journey in the entrepreneur world. Losing my sister took it to a whole other level. And I realized all of the personal work that I had done up to the point of losing her last year allowed me to really be present in the experience while she was in her coma. And I had a post go viral. 6 million people watched a video of hers, and it really allowed me to see that there's so many people hurting. There's so many people in grief, and it's also a very uncomfortable topic for most people. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. And it's been a little bit of a journey because I also honor my capacity in being very active in my grief. I'm only the first year into losing my sister. I do have a program out there that walks through the somatic side of it and processing grief from the somatic lens. And we also look at beliefs. I have a beautiful exercise that walks you through shifting your beliefs, because I think that death in particular, it gives you the opportunity to look and say, what do I really believe in? So it's a go at your own pace program. And then in that, I do a once a month gathering over Zoom that it's not really grief support. It's just a space that we can come together and talk. I'm shifting more into life after is what I'm calling it. I wanted to create a space where people can just talk about their loved ones, because I noticed that as time goes on, more people move on in their life, and I still want to just share everything and anything about her. And so that's that space. So we meet once a month over Zoom, and I'm actually going to open that up publicly. Before it was going to be just those that participate in the program, but it's going to be open starting this month.
Thank you for sharing all of that. What would you like us to know about Jennifer before she died?
Jennifer was Jen, as I call her. She was a traveler, a world traveler. She liked to live an adventure. She had just got her MBA from the University of Edinburgh. You never can say that, right? When you're out there, you say it very differently. But she truly lived life, and this was an opportunity for her that she was doing it on her terms. She had gone through a lot of stuff. My dad passed away in 2014, and the same year she actually went through a divorce. And she went through a lot. And I remember talking to her before she took off. She's, I'm finally doing something for me. And that's to be able to watch her do that through a pandemic. At that, she still made the most of it. And she graduated and then I moved back to California and was working, and then got sick. But she just lived. She lived. She had a a puppy that was her
Hmm.
baby. Mr. Jiggles was along for the journey. He actually ended up going to Scotland with her. He passed away out there. He was 14, 15
Oh,
years
wow.
old. So she had him for, was her partner in crime.
So what was it like? What was your relationship like with her?
We really grew close over the last, I would say, 10 years. We're only 3 years apart, but there was 6 kids in the
Mm,
family growing up. And between her and I, we were the break between the big kids and the little
mm.
kids. And so it was a lot of just that sibling fighting. And she was the kid that stole my clothes and all of that. But in our early 20s, we moved in together and started creating that bond from the adult connection where it's okay, let bygones be bygones, let's let the past go. We were kids. And I would say that was the beginning of really that connection. And she left Utah and was never going to return to
Mm.
Utah. And so she would come back. She was like the traveling auntie and the favorite auntie of my kids. They loved having her here. But we built that bond really over the last 5 to 10 years. We were very different. Our personalities were very different. But I think that's what worked for us because she could keep me grounded and she kept me in like the realistics of life.
Mhm.
I'm a dreamer and always chasing the dreams. And she was more of a realism person that life kind of sucks
Mm.
sometimes. And I was always that, let's just sprinkle love and light on it. Let's make sure we're just smiling through the pain. And it definitely that changed a lot of my perspectives when I lost her and I realized that there is sadness and that there is suffering. And if we just bypass that and ignore it, it definitely finds its way out.
Yeah, for sure. And see that that's even hard for you to say right now. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your relationship changed over time, and it sounds like you were pretty close when she passed.
Yeah. She came here. This is an important part of it is so she graduated in December of 2021. And in between jobs, she moved in with us. So she was here for about 3 months staying with us the beginning of 2022. And it was, being able to look back and be so grateful that we had that time
Mhm.
together and what was going to be happening that year that really solidified our time and also opened up. Like we drove her back to California, my kids and I, and the conversation driving back was really fascinating because we had opened up more than we talked in a long
Mhm.
time. You realize sometimes life just comes surface, right? You're just all going doing your own thing. And we had 12 hours in the car, just the two of us talking. And we were able to talk about my dad's death, which we hadn't done in 8 years. And I'm very grateful for it. And I'm grateful that my kids got to have that time with her.
Mhm. Does she have children? Okay.
She doesn't. Her puppy.
Mm. So what are you comfortable sharing about losing Jen?
June 23rd, we got a call that she was on her way to the hospital. She had been sick with COVID, and I had talked to her a couple weeks before and then just text message here and there from that time. And she was very independent, and she definitely was my father's child. He didn't go to the hospital when he was
Mm.
sick, and ultimately we lost. He had cancer. It was a very different death. But so, yeah, she went to the hospital, just was complaining of some headaches and some backaches, thinking it was still related to COVID. She had talked to a telehealth and they just said, you got to rest, drink lots of fluids. And unfortunately, it wasn't just COVID. She had picked up bacterial meningitis along the way. She made it to the hospital, made it to the ER, was checking herself in. And then she got there between 12 and 2 and then went into a coma by 7
Oh.
and unresponsive. And I was here in Utah, just her best friend was with her and we were listening or getting in the updates on real time, but I could already look back and say how just instantly went into that fight or flight, just that trauma response of not knowing what was going on and thinking, okay, she's intubated, she's not going to make it because that's what you would hear from the COVID side, right?
Mhm.
Once somebody got intubated, they were not going to make it. So I'm like, they can't do that. And they're like, no, we don't really have a choice. And so anyway, I was working with the doctors overnight as they were doing emergency procedures to just ultimately try and save her life. And the emergency procedures helped. She was in her coma for 5 weeks. And we were able to see some responses from her, some movements through the eyes and arms. And until you face a traumatic brain injury, you don't really know what it's not really something people talk about,
Right.
trauma in general, but also it just becomes this waiting game of finding out what the damage was done to the brain, and ultimately the combination of all the infection and everything is what ultimately took her.
Hmm. So you went out to California then?
Yeah, yeah. I was able, thankfully, was able to be out there for the first 10 days while she was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a very spiritual person, and I am one of those people that I live in a life of surrender. I started that myself in 2021, where it's, you know what, I'm just gonna let go and let God, essentially was my mantra. And I got laid off in May of 2021, which was very fascinating and also was not planned.
Mm.
And so then to be able to go down there, and I have 2 children, I'm married. I thankfully had some family support that was able to come over and help while I went down there, and was able to be by her bedside the first 10 days that she was in the hospital. I realized the privilege in that, and I'm also so very grateful that me and her best friend was also there, and a lot of my family came down, and we were able to tag team it the whole time that she was in the hospital.
Mhm.
She Very rarely we missed a day of having somebody in there talking to her and reminding her how much that she was
Mhm.
loved. And I'm just very grateful that I was able to be there and watch it and be very present in it. And that it truly is where the somatic work supported me. I took a class in the spring just for business. I wanted to just get more in tune with my body and bring somatic work in my business. And the last class was the week that she went into the hospital.
Mm.
And to have that knowledge and the awareness around being present in my body, to sit with her, to sit with me
Mhm.
in facing that trauma, and was I don't know. Glad to not know what it would have been like without that,
Mhm.
if that makes
It
sense.
does, and it's fascinating when you have that awareness of just how much the mind and the body are connected. That yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you wanna say more about that?
I would love to, because I'm not a trained therapist or practitioner. I'm more on the coaching side and the holistic coaching side. So if when I share, I'm coming truly from my own
Mhm.
personal bodily experience through this. And for me, somatics allows me to be present with my body, to really witness the emotions that would come through. And also when I was sitting with her, like feeling into her body, she couldn't speak to us and couldn't tell us, what direction we were going. She didn't have a health directive. We had no clue from the logistical side of what we should be doing. It was truly just trusting trusting my body, trusting my family was involved in the decision making, but I being able to sit by her bedside and feel what was going on with her and feel what was going on with me. That's, to me, was the somatic piece that allowed me to be present in
Mhm.
that whole time that I was there. And I remember it just came up on my time hop. I went to a coffee shop before going to the hospital, and I actually took time to enjoy the coffee. And they had the most amazing avocado toast, Southern California. And I took the time and just sat with it and had my coffee and then the toast, and then I called my friend, and I'm like, "I just wanna sit here. I just wanna sit
Mhm.
here." And then the guilt came over of, like, I should be at the hospital with her.
Mm.
But the somatic piece is what let me sit with that guilt and say, "No, I'm a caretaker right now. That's what I need
Yeah.
right now." And the nurses in her facility were amazing at letting us or reminding us that we are caretaking and we have to keep caretake for
Mhm.
ourselves first. But yeah, just processing that guilt and then being able to go to the hospital and be, "Okay, now I'm here. This is where I'm at. This is what we're here to do." I don't know that I could have done that without that awareness around. I've done a lot of work on shadow work and emotional processing and all of that, but to physically feel it and to let it move through, that's the piece that was really big for me. Because with my dad, he passed in 2014, I just shoved it down.
Mm.
We don't talk about it. I don't, I'm okay. And over time, I've ultimately been able to process it, but it was a very different experience of him versus this loss of, no, I'm actually going to feel it because feeling is healing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can feel it, I can allow for more of all the emotions to come through.
Have you continued that work into your grief?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've continued the work. So I follow holistic life navigation as the person I follow on the somatic side. And I'm now in a practitioner group. And we've been in calls of what is your work? And
Mm-hmm.
I have this strange, like I'm a business coach and then I want to support people in grief, which also includes supporting me
Mm-hmm.
through the grief because there's no timeline of healing. There's no time that, let's just get over this. This is very, very present. And I've realized how much grief is present in my body.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just saw a friend posted that cliche thing about your thoughts create your reality. And I'm like, oh, I used to be that. And I do think that there is truth in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's all the truth because for me, my body shows me when my grief is very, very present
Mm-hmm.
and what my grief feels like. And in the past, it would have been like, if I don't think about the sadness, if I can bypass it and placate it or avoid it,
Mm-hmm.
if I can just let it go, right? Then I'm going to create more things to be grateful for. All of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And what the somatic piece has shown me is that it will pop up
Yeah.
at very unexpected times.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't just suppress it and bypass it because it changes like how I interact with my kids. It changes how I interact with others, changes how I interact with my clients. And so when it's very, very present in my body, I get to honor my body and I get to see where my capacity is on a day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
basis instead of just that typical, like just push through mentality.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to acknowledge and something that's so difficult, especially I think in our society, to acknowledge that any emotions are affecting our body physically, but then grief is many emotions. And I think what you're hinting at too is you can't really heal from it. We're living with it forever.
Yeah.
And so how do you learn to live with it physically? And I love that you're aware that it's impacting your children and your family and your work.
Yeah. And I think that's the piece that's really interesting for me. Like I said, I wanted to, I support people in grief and then I'm also in grief.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing the same thing. It's like we're creating this community and creating connection to let people know that they're not alone in their grief. And sibling loss has a whole, I never really thought about losing a sibling,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have lost my father and that is the natural timing,
Right.
if there is any, of death. But I really think it's super important that to honor that piece in, especially for those of us that speak out about it, right? That we're going to have moments where I don't have the capacity to hold space for
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. And it's my body that's going to show me
Yeah.
that. And I can't deny that part.
So what do you do with that when you start to realize you're in a place where you can't support other people?
I'm very open. Those that work with me understand that part, that there might be a rescheduling or a time that we just, it's really fascinating because it naturally comes out that way. I run a accountability group and we meet weekly. And last week we all got on and there was just this energy of, I don't have this capacity, but I personally didn't speak out about it because I was like, oh, I'm the one leading this. And it was really interesting because electronics weren't working right. I couldn't get my computer to work. It was just fascinating. And one of my clients, she's like, wait, are we supposed to be doing something else?
Mm-hmm.
And just that one pause of, wait a minute, we said we were going to do this, but what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So we all just took a minute of just, okay, feel into our bodies what's going on. And then we just opened up the conversation to just talk. And I hadn't really thought about it until you just asked that question, but I am creating an environment where each one of us can honor our capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody might not be in active grief that I'm working with, but they know where I'm coming from. And that's why I intertwine grief. Like I said, it's this weird combination of, here, I want to intuitively coach in business. And, oh, I'm going to post about being sad over something and thinking about Jen. But I will attract people And I've set the intention that people that are in my space will know this part
Hmm.
about me. And as I grow and as I continue to move it, like you said, the grief is with me. And that has been a huge acceptance.
Hmm.
And I talk about that all the time, that because I've had many people, well, don't you just like, why can't you be present here? I'm like, oh, I'm 100% present.
Hmm.
I went for a walk with a friend and he was sharing his experience of losing his best friend. And he's like, you know what I do is just, I'm here now. And I'm, oh, yeah, I'm 100% here now too.
Hmm.
That doesn't dismiss that a part of me, and it moves in my
Hmm.
body, that a part of me is longing for her, wishing that she can come on this hike with us.
Right.
Doesn't mean that I'm not present. It just means that I'm feeling it. Went off on a little weird tangent, but
No, I
that's
think
what
it's a
came through.
beautiful tangent, and I love how that you're you're bringing grief alongside you, and sometimes that works, and sometimes it's all right. We're gonna take a break here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a podcast. It's been stagnant because it's called Moving Grief, and I don't know where to move with it. It's been
Mm.
really interesting because it came through in intuitively. It was definitely meant to be birthed to come out. And I was sharing stories of grief like you do, of bringing people on. And over the last couple weeks, I'm like, I don't know what it is, because
Hmm.
I don't know where I'm moving with my grief right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving myself permission that I don't have to know. And I've received feedback that they've loved the episodes, and sometimes they're the most random pieces, because that's what grief is,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
It's so random.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. You don't know what to expect or how it's gonna show up sometimes, and it's adjusting to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like you find a lot of support professionally. Would you say that personally you've also had a lot of support?
Yeah, I definitely have a beautiful network. My family, like Jen and I were definitely the closest
Mhm.
in the siblings. I've learned to have compassion for others that are grieving her. And sometimes it feels like I'm in this own my own little world, right? Because I have my relationship with her, and then so and so has their relationship. And I feel a lot of times, especially in family units, it's, oh, you should be feeling this way. And it's been really interesting to just kind of let it go and be like, I can't there's not a right way to do any of this.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I am so called to share from my experience, because this is my experience of handling it. Somebody could resonate with me and not resonate with what I'm sharing, but through my family, we've definitely become closer. We were communicating a lot
Mhm.
while she was in the hospital and afterwards, because we are very, I'd say, pretty disconnected family. Like, we're on our own little islands. And so losing her brought us together. That's like my extended, my sibling family. And then my little group, my husband and my kids, like,
Mhm.
we definitely COVID really got us centered into each other. So there's another, okay, thankful for
Mhm.
the timing and things, because we've spent the last 3 years really grounding into what our foundation is as a family. And then definitely the friend network, and that I picked up some beautiful friends that were Jen's, and spending the time in the hospital with her best friend, we now are connected for life.
Mhm.
And so, yes, 100%. I feel supported. And it's interesting because sometimes, even as I'm talking, sometimes I feel like I need to do it alone.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's middle child syndrome, like, I gotta be the strong one. I don't know. There's just something, it's just bringing up something as you were talking right now. I have such amazing support. And I also still at times don't reach out for that support, especially when it's
Mhm.
the heaviest time.
Is it that you feel you need to do it alone or that you want to do it alone?
Ooh, I think it more is along the I want to do it alone.
Mhm. I think let's normalize that. That's okay that you can grieve with people, but it's so personal. It's a very personal experience that sometimes you don't want that noise. You want to be able to
Yeah.
work through it.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Mhm. You're welcome. It's been true for me as well, but also people that I work with, I've seen that.
Why do you think that is?
There were times that you had a relationship with your sister that those moments where nobody else had them. And I think there's this sense of how could you not need time to work through that when that relationship is so unique and to you and her? Also, for me, I think personally, there are some people that just don't understand what my relationship was like with my brother because it waxed and waned over time or ages and phases, but there was a solid thread through that people may or may not have seen depending on when they met us. And so I don't want to be invalidated, and sometimes I just need to validate myself and the way that I need to. So I don't know if that's true for you as well.
Yeah, that does resonate. I was talking to my daughter today about siblings because they got in an argument. My son and daughter got in an argument,
As
and she's like,
siblings
"Mom,
do.
did you guys?" Yeah, I know. And she says, "Did you guys fight when you were kids?" I'm like, "Yes, all of the time." And so we were just talking through that, and I said, "There's something about your sibling. You don't choose them, right?
Mhm,
Like you would a friend, and they're with you for life. Whether I know siblings can separate, and like you said, it can and go through its natural ebb and flow. But there's like this innate bond." And I also said, sometimes the people that you love the most are the ones that drive you the most nuts,
mhm,
right? And Jen and I's relationship was unique. And I catch myself not giving myself that permission to really celebrate the uniqueness because I know I wasn't her only close person.
mhm,
And she's not my only close person. So I love that you brought that in because it gives me permission to really celebrate that thread that we had. And I've said it before on my social media and to friends that parts of me died with her.
mhm,
And it's not something you can plan for. And also, I'm still figuring out what to do with that.
mhm. Yeah. And you're still very early in the grief. We both are. Like, a year is not that well, when is the anniversary? It's coming up, right?
July 30th. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that she chose to go. That's actually something I don't talk publicly about, but I do want to begin sharing that because I remember when I first got to the hospital and seeing her in the state that she was. So 5 weeks of yes, little responses, but ultimately in a coma for that 5 weeks. And I remember going into her room and sitting with her after the initial shock of it all and just saying, "Sis, you get to choose this. You have a team of doctors that know what they're doing from the medical standpoint." She was in an amazing hospital with great care, like state of the art. Literally, no stones were not turned. Like she truly had the best care. And ultimately, they said, "Just you make the choice because I don't know if I'm strong enough to make that choice for you." And ultimately, she did. Like her different organs started shutting down. I remember I saw her on a video because had come back home. So I went back and forth in the 5 weeks and we were able to FaceTime while she was in the hospital and just seeing her, I'm like, ooh, something's
Mm.
different. Something, she's more restful. She looked very peaceful,
Mhm,
but it was more restful. And then it was July 22nd. There was just so many, I'm really big into signs and synchronicities. And there was a random guy that my friend and I ran into that his TikTok account was Primal. And he had a shirt on that I didn't even notice until a few weeks ago. If my sister-in-law pointed out, it says something about let the music come out. Just these interesting signs. And I came home that day after being out and seeing her on the camera and wondering if, and we had also been told by the doctors that they were starting to not see the same eye movements and the signs from her pupils.
mm,
And I was in the shower and I just said, "Jen, just show me where you're at. Show me, give me something to just understand where you are." And I saw a field of yellow flowers and her face, and she said, "I'm happy." That's all
mm.
that was said. And it gave me the peace and then also just this, "Oh, no, this
Yeah.
might be the time." And I went outside and was sitting on the deck, and within 30 minutes, her best friend texted me, and she was showing me a picture of a tattoo that Jen wanted to get. She wanted to get a bouquet of flowers of all the people that were close to
Mhm.
her, and I said, "Oh, that's really interesting. I just had this vision of her in these yellow flowers." And she goes, "Oh, like this?" And she sent me a picture that they had taken years ago of Jen in these yellow
Oh,
flowers.
wow.
And it was like, I get chills even talking about it now. And it's like, she really is happy. And, that, yes, the grief lives within me. And I feel the sadness of the loss of her.
Hmm.
And then there's also this part of me that knows that she chose and that she is happy.
Hmm.
Like I don't know what's going to happen after we all die, but I believe in my heart that we don't physically die. That's just the next phase.
Hmm.
But just to have those confirmation, then even like a dove, one single dove, it was about a teenager. She was a smaller bird, came up on our fence. And my husband was able to almost touch the dove.
Oh,
And I was like, she was letting us know, like, it just, yeah.
what a beautiful connection and story. It's more than a story, right? That was definitely, I
Yeah.
don't even know what you call that, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. I have lots of them. And one day I'm writing a book. It's no words were spoken yet. So much was said. And it's yet to be written because I'm still processing.
Hmm.
And like you said, it's only been a year. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I want like really the correct message to be out there.
Yeah.
Because when you watch somebody transition out of this world, for me, there was a lot of peace around it.
Hmm.
And then there's also the part of the heaviness and the sadness.
Yeah.
And so to literally it's this juggling ball.
Hmm.
I'm like this juggling match my head of I know she's okay.
Hmm.
And yet, damn it, I'm here without her. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
In that moment, you're not okay, even though you know
Yes.
she is. Yeah.
Yes.
So were you there when she passed?
Yeah. When we went back down, my mom went down and my best friend came as well. You could tell. You could tell. And like I said, I said, just make sure that we all know, right? Don't leave us questioning if we're making any of the health decisions on her behalf. And one of the nurses that we worked with at the end, Peggy, I'll never forget Peggy because she was just as real as they come, as real as they
Hmm.
come. And she was just, she said, look at your sister. She's going to be okay. And she's also not okay in this form. Because when you're dealing with the coma, right, there's the thought of, are they going to be a paraplegic? What is the outcome that can come from a brain injury? And so it could be this gamut of possibilities. I know for her, and I love that you asked about the Jen before she passed away, was the adventure. Anything short of her being able to travel and live independently was the Jen. Peggy reminded us that, you know what, sometimes life just sucks and there's no answers.
Hmm.
And you pick up the pieces and you keep moving. It's not moving on because I've definitely been through that. It's just moving with it.
Right.
You pick up the pieces and you just move.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's also a conscious choice, right? Like you could stay stuck, but it's not really a choice that we have. And
Yeah.
moving on isn't that seems dismissive. So I do think I like how you said it, just moving.
Yeah.
Has your relationship with your siblings, you said you're closer now. How about with your mom? You hadn't mentioned her until just a
Cool.
few minutes ago. And feel free to not answer any question.
Yeah. Now it goes back to what you were saying. Grieving can be an individual thing. And let's normalize that conversation because my mom lost a daughter.
Mhm.
And the old version of Stephanie would be like, okay, mom, what does mom need? Because mom got the biggest pain, right? The biggest
Mhm.
heartache. Mom's surviving and she's working through. We are closer. I think for us, death reminded us how close it can be,
Mhm.
right? And how unexpected any one of us can go. She's more of the grandma that stays on the sidelines, grandma.
Mhm.
And I've seen her come around a lot more. And I've seen her wanting to be involved. And I don't know if it's from the perspective of she's 78 and her health isn't the best. And so I'll just speak for myself. I feel like her coming more around is that I'm sorry and I want to make the most of what we have.
Mm.
And there's still parts of me that I know I can be better. But then also there's the parts like I'm hurting
Mhm.
too and I can be okay with that.
Yeah.
I definitely took on a lot of the mother type duties while Jen was in her coma, but I didn't really give anybody a choice.
Mm.
and I'm gonna own that because that was where I needed to be, and it was like no questions asked. I just get to be here. I'm doing it,
Mhm.
right? And there was some things that happened at the very beginning, which I won't share publicly, but there was some stuff that happened that changed the way that my role. But then I also I'm like, I don't know that I would have done it differently
Yeah.
because I am the take charge. I was the kid that took charge of all of the siblings, like being the one that rallied us all together to I remember when I was probably like 10 years old, my little brother was in the hospital and maybe even 8, rallied us all together and we walked to the hospital while my mom was there. I was always that kid, and we've had a beautiful conversation where she thanked me for being there, and I don't know that she would have made some of the same decisions in honor of Jen. It would have been maybe more of what she wanted, and
Mhm.
she acknowledges that.
Yeah. It sounds like you've been an entrepreneur since you were a little kid, so it makes sense that you would take charge
Yeah.
in difficult decisions.
Yes, and my uncle passed away a couple years ago, and I was able to be there during that as well, and I know that there's a part of my work here is not only in grief, but also in the support of death,
Mhm.
because I do feel like there's a lot of forgiveness and there's a lot of surrender and letting go that can happen
Mhm.
around death. I don't know where that's gonna lead for me, and I'm just allowing the path to
Yeah.
unfold. I've looked at going back to school, and I'm like, "Oh, do I wanna do that?" But it's more from the spiritual side of it that
Mhm.
I have witnessed it now couple times, and I feel like we can as a society, we can do better
Mhm.
around death.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
May I ask if the uncle you lost, was that your mom's brother?
Yes.
So, it's interesting. Were you able
Mm.
to connect with her on sibling loss at all?
The first time I've ever put those 2 together.
Mm.
It's really interesting. No, not yet.
Mm. I'm just thinking from my experience that has actually forged the relationship with my dad closer because we both can relate on that. So I'll be interested to follow up with you on that at some point to see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely am going to, yes, talk to her about that. Strange that has never even crossed my
Mhm.
awareness.
It's also, you said earlier, we don't think about losing siblings, and you have 5 siblings, right?
There's 6 of us total, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's out of order, right? Like we're
Yeah.
not at the age where that normally happens yet. And that's hard to think about.
And she's one the baby, not the baby, I have a younger brother, but she's our baby.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was that gap when we were growing up of the big kids and the little kids, and her and my youngest brother were the little ones, and
Mhm.
so she's not supposed to go.
Yeah. That's hard. I would love to connect with you on this journey that you're on and figuring out how you can support people in grief and
Yeah.
death and loss. So we should chat sometime other than this podcast.
I would love that. It's so interesting because I've always connected with your work. I love the idea of the pact. It's such an interesting I'm very big into animals, and I said I love signs and synchronicities, and animals are one of those that
Mhm.
play out, and the pact, there's just something there of now there's been this piece removed from the pact,
Mhm.
and I don't know, there's something that yes.
So I've shared this before on the podcast and it's on the website too. But the reason for that is my brother loved wolves, and
Mm.
wolves grieve their sibling mates when they pass or are lost. It's actually pretty fascinating to read some of those stories. Yeah. Are there other things you wish people knew about grief or loss or sibling loss in particular that you wish you had known a year ago?
I think the thing that's coming is you cannot prepare for it, and the relatability comes after it happens.
Mhm.
That's where when that post went viral, it was a lot of people connecting on, "Oh, I lost my sister," and there was also her puppy that was in it that was, "Where's the puppy?" Like, people cared about where the dog was. So, it's an interesting question of what do I wish people would know is I hope you never have to know
Mhm.
this. And when you do, know that you're not alone.
Mhm.
It's not something you can ever plan for. And there's no right way to figure it out either. She's not the first person I lost, and that's why it's been interesting, like, why now talk about this?
Mhm.
My dad will come through every once in a while. I've really I'm at peace with my dad. I don't know if I can be at peace with her. Being calm. I don't know that that's possible, but you can't ever plan to know what this feels like. I guess also what comes with that too is I wish more people would really think about what they say to somebody in grief or
Yeah.
somebody, especially at the first aftermath. We're so uncomfortable with it that we just put these placated statements out there and without any thought. And I don't think people are, they mean ill intent by them.
Right.
We just don't think about it.
Right.
And multiple people say, I can't imagine losing my sister. Well, don't freaking imagine
Right.
it.
Because we couldn't have
I
either.
don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can't imagine not having her not here now. And that's, I think, that was the beginning of me speaking out about my grief, is because I was getting frustrated and that, let me know if you need anything. Stop saying that, period. If I could give anybody advice, stop saying that, because somebody that's in grief doesn't know what they want. And if they do figure out what they want, it will be hard for them to ask.
Exactly. Yeah.
And are you also going to be willing to do anything?
Yeah.
Because anything is a lot.
Right.
But that was what I began speaking out, because I was like, what is this? People, they
Right.
don't think about what they're saying.
Yes, for sure.
So maybe just think about it. And then also there will come a time where others will move on from your loss. I feel like I'm getting at that point now. I think that I'll be having the anniversary coming up, but I definitely have been feeling that people will move on with life. So find the few people that you really can connect and reach out to, just saying, I don't know why, but I'm just feeling this. And then if you want to be that friend and really, I had a person on my podcast that shared this advice and I loved it. She said she put the death date in her calendar of like anytime anybody would die that was close to her. And she goes, I put in the calendar and then I forget about it because they weren't close to me, but I'm close to the person that lost them. And so then on the anniversary, she reaches out and I'm like, that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. Yeah.
And I have somebody in my life that has done that with my dad every single year without fail. I think more check-ins, like if I can invite people to do more check-ins. I don't know why it's such a hard thing to talk about. And we all go through it. We're all going to experience loss and death in some form, but we're also awkward around it.
Yeah.
I'm generalizing.
No,
a lot of people
I think,
around it.
I think, because I'm pretty involved in this work elsewhere, not just in my personal life. And for fun, I was just reading the history of death and dying this past weekend. And that just changed. The history behind that is actually rather fascinating, about how the industrial age had a lot to do with our changing beliefs and approaches to and attitudes around death. But it wasn't always this way. When people died in the home and wakes were like traditional in the house, and there was a lot more comfort and care and support and talking about that than happens now.
Makes sense.
And then that's also a cultural general statement. That's not true everywhere. Like in our family, everyone talks about death. That's just, text my husband at one point. I was like, oh, well, you guys, that's all you talk about. It's not all we talk about, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I was wondering if you wanted to share some favorite stories of you and Jen.
Oh, I think for me, definitely always the things that stand out is our traveling together. We had an annual girls trip and there we were in Chicago and she wanted to karaoke so bad. She wanted to karaoke so bad. And the group, it wasn't like the consensus of what activity they wanted to do. And she was just just pissed and like moping around. And then we didn't end up karaokeing, but we found somewhere and she's just had this, you know what, screw it type attitude. I'm going to just make the most of it. And that was her common theme. Once she finally put her heart and mind to it, she had a blast anywhere she went, no matter if it's the most pathetic crowd, or we ended up in a place that there was, I mean, by this time we were in our probably early 30s. Like I said, she's 3 years younger, but a bunch of 21-year-olds, not our crowd of demographics, right?
Mhm.
And just made the most of it. But then she also didn't take crap from people. She was the type, we would be somewhere and she was always the single one in the group when we'd go on these trips, and these guys would come up and hit on her and she's, "Are you really talking to me?" And she would blatantly say that. And we could see it in her face. And it wouldn't be like, "Come save me." She could handle herself. That friend pack, she could handle herself. There was this one time when this guy actually even came to her celebration of life. But we were at a friend of mine's house and Jen had come with us. And this guy came up and he's like, "Oh, I know you." She's like, "No, you don't." He's, "No, I do. Jennifer Eberhard." And she's like, "Yeah." We went to high school together. And she's like, "Oh, oh, yeah, I think I was too cool for you back then." And so then he came like afterwards and he came to her celebration of life. And now we're Facebook friends because he's like, "Yeah, your sister was too cool for me." But she had no problem saying it. Lots of adventures. She was always up for going on adventures when she'd stay with the kids. One of my last favorite memories of her, she came out in the summer of 2021 and we went and floated the river. And she was very cautious during the COVID times. My family was too. So it was a little bit like, can we get out? And I live in Utah, which is a very conservative state and not as many precautions here. And I remember she's like, "Okay, the river's the safest place that we can be in because we can be in our own little bubble just going down the river." We had an amazing time. We had a little cooler that came with us. And yeah, I share those videos quite often because that's the last real, just fond memory of us just being fully present and just having a great time. We shared a lot of binge watching silly shows, me falling asleep. I loved seeing her when she was in Scotland. I feel like that was a time she really was able to come alive.
Mhm.
She went out with the intention, she didn't know anybody, so she was going out alone, and she loved Scotland. She loved not having to drive a car. She was in California for most of her adult life, so you can imagine the complete opposite of California, LA traffic,
Mhm.
and then she goes out to Scotland, the UK, and but she became this little leader, mom type person in the group doing the party planning. She was an excellent party planner. Excellent party planner. That girl could throw something together, and she never could just do it simple, like costumes, and she sewed a lot, so she'd make things for friends, and they would do
Mhm.
themed parties and stuff. Yeah, just I was able to go out for her graduation and just seeing her in that space where she really it was like one of a year and a half of her life that she just didn't have responsibilities except for getting her MBA, and
Mhm.
so she was able to really just live it and enjoy it. Oh, I could probably go on and on.
Thank you. Do you have ways that you plan to spend the anniversary?
No, I have realized I've let go of expectations. In fact, I was giving that advice to one of my clients because she was gonna be going back and traveling in, like, their stomping grounds, and I realized her birthday was May 20th, and we had went to a ice cream place here,
Mhm.
and it was a beautiful day, and also it didn't meet expectations, and it also did so it's that I've learned to really let go of expecting what it's going to be like that day.
Mhm.
It's strange because it's only a few weeks away, but from now until that time, there was a lot of highs and lows.
Mhm.
My body's holding on to a lot of that I don't know right now that I have the capacity to really think ahead of what that day is gonna look
Right.
like.
So actually, you have a lot of anniversaries between now and then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot. And it started a few weeks ago. This just was a time of unexpected last year. It feels like a freaking lifetime ago, and yet it was only a year ago.
Yeah.
So I think what's on my agenda is to just be present each day and allow the moments, talk through the moments, and we'll see.
Sounds like a good plan to take it as you need it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I really enjoyed talking to you.
No, thank you. Me too.
Thank you so much for listening. Our theme song was written by Joe Mylward and Brian Dean and was performed by Joe Mylward. If you would like more information on The Broken Pack, go to our website, thebrokenpack.com. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter, Wild Grief, to learn about opportunities and receive exclusive information and grieving tips for subscribers. Information on that, our social media, and on our guests can be found in the show notes wherever you get your podcasts. Please follow, subscribe, and share. Thanks again.
You're second guessing, well, you never know, you just never know.